Rule number one of investing is never to lose money. And if you're going to invest in the stocks, that can go up and down. But if you buy a rental property that cash flows and you manage it well, it will always make you money every single month. And that's why he had rentals. So that's kind of why I got into rental properties. But it wasn't that easy. I was really excited. And then all of a sudden I was super discouraged because he was like, yo, I bought these back in 2008. Which is like a dip, like you were saying, that's happening again right now, right? So he's like, hey, I bought these when it was a dip, and I've created a lot of wealth that way. So you probably can't find deals like this now.
Renegade, renegade, renegade.
Go, 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 go. Yeah, wholesaling like I hit the lottery. Flipping properties, that's my specialty. With no money or no credit when done properly. Make 5 figures in one deal, ain't no stopping me. Wholesaling real estate, I'm on my grind. Flipping properties, it's all about the bottom line. I got my eye
What's
on the
going on,
prize,
everybody?
can't waste
Stock
no
Passe,
time.
not Buble, and welcome to another episode of School of Wholesaling. I am your host, Luke Madeus, and I am bringing on the show today, guys, a legend. I'm bringing on the show today somebody who has changed the game for real estate investors. And honestly, he's just a really, really great guy. I call him a friend. He's a friend of mine, and I'm glad to be bringing him on the show. If you have been listening to this show since the start of the show, I'm talking way back in 2019, then you might have already heard him before. I'm excited to bring him back on the show because he has so much more to share, and the things that are happening right now in the real estate market. It's important for you to know how to be able to position yourself properly to take advantage of what we're stepping into. Like I said it before, we are stepping into the greatest wealth transfer in history. Trillions of dollars is passing from one generation to another generation. And the beautiful thing about it is most of it is held in real estate. A good portion of it is held in real estate. And you could be getting your piece of that pie, right? You could be getting some of that wealth being transferred to you and your family for generational purposes. Without further ado, though, I want to invite over my friend, David Lecko, CEO of Dealmachine, real estate mogul, real estate disruptor, okay? To the mic. David, how are you doing, brother? Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing, man?
Luke, I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. What were those 3 words you said right at the beginning of the opening?
Stock Passe.
What is Stock Passe?
So Stock Passe is actually Creole. I'm from Haiti. So Stock Passe is Creole, and it means what's going on? What's up?
Oh, I like that. I thought it might have been something like that. That's amazing. Cool. Well, dude, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Listen, it's a pleasure to have you here. So David, go ahead. For those people who are just new to the show, they might not have heard your the previous episode that we had together. And if you haven't, I definitely would love to go ahead and do a shameless plug. Go listen to it after you listen to this one. But listen to this one first. David, what exactly do you do, man? What is your story? How did you become who you are today?
Yeah, so I mean, before real estate, my life really sucked. And I was actually working like 15 hours a day for a small startup company where I was the only software developer. And I was also the customer support person. So it's exactly what I wanted for a little bit, because I wanted a small company where I could learn. But eventually, they didn't have the budget to hire the extra developers and support staff that they needed. And so I realized I was putting in enough work like it was my own company. And I was sleeping with my laptop underneath my pillow because if there was a bug or some type of severe issue, I was the one that got that call at midnight. I was the one that needed to fix it so our customers could use that. And I was taking it to restaurants. It was always in my car. And the final straw was at my best friend's wedding. During the reception, I actually had to leave, go to my car, and fix a bug with my laptop and my hotspot. And my friend was not happy. And I realized I've learned enough in this 2 years, and I'm ready to go start something new. And I picked real estate because the owner of that company actually had 5 rentals. And I was like, why do you have that? And he said, rule number one of investing is never to lose money. And if you're going to invest in the stocks, that can go up and down. But if you buy a rental property that cash flows and you manage it well, it will always make you money every single month. And that's why he had rentals. So that's kind of why I got into rental properties. But it wasn't that easy. I was really excited. And then all of a sudden I was super discouraged because he was like, yo, I bought these back in 2008, which is like a dip, like you were saying, that's happening again right now, right? So he's like, hey, I bought these when it was a dip and I've created a lot of wealth that way. So you probably can't find deals like this now.
Mhm.
And I was like, damn, back to square one. But then I went to a meetup and I actually found out people do find deals all the time. You just have to find them off market. And so essentially, I went on to go find some off market deals. And I built a little tool for myself along the way that later became a business called Dealmachine, which could definitely tell you about. But yeah, man, that's actually been what I do is right. I just kind of left that job, started looking for off market properties, built a little rental portfolio, and built a tech tool to help myself along the way.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Listen, we've got so much to unpack there. That is absolutely a phenomenal story, man. The part that I like a whole lot about your story is the part where you mentioned that you were sleeping with your laptop like right beneath your pillow. Like I can understand what that feels like. Before I got into real estate, I was actually doing music, right? So I was spending a lot of time in studios and things like that, producing music, recording music, mixing music, mastering music. That's what I did, right? I did a lot of that stuff. And I remember back then in my life, man, like literally like being at the studio, sleeping day after day after day at the studio, on the studio couch, right next to all the mixing equipment, because you know it's that thing that's inside of you, right? This insatiable desire, an obsession is a better word. It's an obsession, and then this desire for you to create what you're going after. And I thought the same thing with real estate too, same thing with real estate. And so just unpack that a little bit, because it's so interesting how that mindset that you had brought you to where you now created a tool that has completely changed the entire game. Okay, so can you talk about a little bit about your mindset throughout your entire journey from when you got started? You mentioned that first deal, but just share a little bit more about your mindset.
My dad had a friend that he introduced me to whenever I was in high school. And this guy, his name was Bill Anderson, and he actually had started his own consulting company. And that's how he worked with my dad. My dad was an employee for a telecommunications company, but the telecom company, hired this guy's company, Bill. And so my dad introduced me to him, and I was like, Bill seems like he knows how to make more money, right? So he's like, there's stability that comes with the W-2, but then Bill seems like he's found a way to do similar work as what my dad was doing, but clearly making a lot more money. And so I was like very interested. He gave me the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. And so that book is all about how you could possibly make the same income you need all in 4 hours by starting a business and setting it up so that it doesn't necessarily need you, right? You can't set it up that way from the beginning, but that's the whole point of setting up the business. And so from a very early age, I didn't know how to do that, but I knew that was possible. So I kind of became obsessed, and I thought at first, I just need to invest as much as possible into stocks. So I was saving a lot of money and investing a lot of money. And when I say a lot, it was a lot to me, right? I was making like $50,000 after college. And so I was saving half of that every year. So I was basically like living off nothing and prioritizing trying to build like a nest egg so that I could invest. But that's where the mindset definitely came from. And it was always like, I just want more. I had a good upbringing, but it wasn't like big house, nice cars, or, we got to eat out once a month at Red Lobster. That was like the upbringing. So I just saw people had more, and I honestly kind of shallow. I just wanted more. I thought that would be a really fun life. And so that's where it came from.
Awesome. Awesome. How important is it for people to actually have that desire, man, to like want more for themselves, to move the needle in life?
Well, I think that
success?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's either like, to me, working hard is better than like living poor. And so I wasn't poor, right, by like the world standards, but I just wanted more. And so I think that's what drove me. And you definitely have to have a drive, because it does take hard work to start a business. It does take hard work to start a business. And so, I think it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, you're just not going to start a business and work hard to do it.
Wow. Yeah, man, that's perfectly said. Perfectly said. So talk to us about your first experience as an investor, right? Because of course, a Dealmachine, you created this this amazing platform, man. I mean, I'm always going to talk great about Dealmachine because Dealmachine has made us a lot of deals, right? at the same time, man, I would love to hear, like, tell us about your first investment opportunity and why Deal Machine became a solution for you. What was the problem? Talk about your first go round.
Yeah. So thankfully, I was energized when I found that meetup of people in Indianapolis who find off-market real estate properties. And they told me that I should go driving for dollars. And I was like, what's that? You got to look for a rundown house. You got to look up who owns it and send them a letter. And then if you do that a few hundred times, you're going to find somebody that does want to sell. So that's exactly what I set out to go do. And I struggled a little bit though, because I was adding properties to my notebook, but I wasn't following up with any of them. And so then a month later, I saw one of the properties I'd written down was being worked on. I missed out on that deal. I looked it up. They bought it for a price that would have been a great deal, perfect deal for me, but I didn't follow up. And so that's whenever I used the computer background I had to make a little app. It was a widget. It wasn't on the app store. It was just on my phone. It was a map where I could pin the property. It tells me who owns it. And I could press a button to send a letter to the actual owner and then just keep driving and adding properties. So that's what it was. That's what it was for me. And it did help me go get my first off-market deal. But in the meantime, I actually was pretty scared to make an offer, especially because there were, like, it was just me and this person, and I had never done a real estate transaction. So what I ended up doing was used a low down payment loan to go get a 5-bedroom house for like $190,000. And then I paid for the entire mortgage by asking my coworkers at the time if anyone wanted to live with me. And so I had 3 roommates and I lived in the 4th.
That's awesome.
But, yeah. So that was how I got started.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I have to unpack this. Did you mention that you had a few of your coworkers living with you in the property that you bought?
Yes, I did.
Man, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it worked out okay. I've had different roommates over the years, and I don't know if coworkers is always the best option, because if there's a problem at home, if they're not easygoing, then it's going to be annoying at work. But I learned that. I figured that out.
Yeah, that's the beauty, man. That's the beauty of experience, right? You learn some really good things. You learn some things to do differently the next time.
Exactly.
So talk to us about Deal Machine, man. So you mentioned a little bit about Deal Machine. You mentioned the reason why Deal Machine was created, how you leveraged it, how you used it. What was the reason for its growth now? How did you get it to where it was just being a widget on your phone to now being a platform that everyone can use?
So this blew my mind. There was a girl, her name was Brittany Wicks, and she came from Dallas, Texas to Indianapolis once a month so that she could buy a goal of 30 properties per month. And I was blown away by that. I had never been exposed to somebody who was operating at that level. The reason why she was doing that was because she was getting the leads and the deals for a turnkey company that would take rundown properties, fix them up, sell them to people with a lot of money in California, and then manage the properties for them. So there's so many people in California that would want to invest in the Midwest, but they don't want to get their hands dirty. This turnkey company could not buy enough properties to keep up with the demand. And so that's why she was there to buy 30 properties per month, which I thought was insane. But I showed her, I went to a meetup. So she hosted a meetup so that she could educate other wholesalers in the area what she would pay for a property. She would say on a spreadsheet, in this Washington Township area, she'll pay $74,000 all in, including repairs, for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And so she thought by educating wholesalers, that would give her more leads, because once the wholesalers would get those deals, they'd turn around and sell them to her. And that was how I worked. And so I attended that because I wanted to learn. And then I showed her that thing I made on my app, and she said life-changing words to me. I'll always remember this. She said, well, I'll pay $1,000 to try any new marketing. How much does this thing cost? I was like, okay, it's just on my phone, but I'm going to find out real quick how to get this on your phone. And so that's why I put it on the App Store. I like hopped on 99 Designs, got a logo because you need that. And then I set up like a payment processing, and the app was free at the time. And she paid like $1.75 per postcard. So that's how I originally thought it might work, because I didn't really think about it being a business. And she bought like 700 or 500 postcards, something like that. She spent about $1,000. And I was like, damn, I didn't even try. And this just came to me. So that's how I knew. I was like, I think this thing I created could be a business.
Wow, man, that's amazing. Now, shed a little bit of light, right, on how important it is, or how valuable do you think it is for someone who's listening to the show right now? They're new to all of this, right? All right, I just want to say this: if you haven't figured it out by now, if you are driving for dollars, you're doing that, which is a wonderful strategy to find really, really great deals, and you're in any market for that matter. And you're not utilizing Dealmachine, you are in the prehistoric times, right? If you're still using notebook and paper. And so definitely check out Dealmachine if you are driving for dollars and you want to use this as a leverage. You want to leverage that as a tool. Now, David, can you share with us, for someone who may not be driving for dollars, they're new to the business, but they want to do things more of like from a virtual standpoint, right? How could they leverage Dealmachine to do that?
Yeah, so they can actually drive for dollars virtually with Dealmachine. So if you're actually, it's better to drive in person, but let's say you've got a job that keeps you occupied when the sun is up. You can't really drive for dollars at night. You could pull open Dealmachine. It's a mobile app and the desktop platform, and you can scroll around through Google Earth, walk down the streets, and if you see a rundown house, you can add that property. And it does everything the real world driving would do. It keeps track of the routes that you've driven on. And then it also keeps track of how many properties you've added. And then you can send mail to the property owners just like that. So anytime you're pulling out your social media, maybe it's like before or after you go to bed, whenever, you can now pull open Google Earth in the Dealmachine app, drive around and find rundown properties to get your first real estate deal.
That's awesome. So it doesn't matter if you're doing this business virtually or physically, you can leverage this system to see success. I've got to ask you, David, you're the CEO. You are the brains behind Dealmachine. You are the source of it all. And so I wanted to ask you, out of all of the amazing, awesome features that Dealmachine offers the aspiring real estate investor and a successful real estate investor, what would you say is the most powerful feature that Dealmachine has right now? What would you say that would be?
Yeah, so just to get your first deal, there's only two things you have to do. You only have to add properties and send mail, and that's it. There are a lot of advanced things inside of Dealmachine, but I almost hesitate to even mention it because it's only those two things that you have to do, and you just got to do enough of that in order to get your first deal. Now, to answer your question as well, we just launched an AI assistant that helps you figure out how to negotiate with the seller. It can tell you what the after repair value of the property is. It can say, you can analyze the deal for a wholesale, fix and flip. You can estimate repair costs because it's just like the Chat GPT you're used to using, but it's supercharged because it's got access to the real estate data inside Dealmachine. So that's the difference. If you've ever used an AI, Chat GPT before, it's just like that, but it's in the Dealmachine mobile app and it knows all of the real estate data you'd need to help overcome some of those questions you have as a first-time real estate investor. And so I'm very excited. I'm hearing a ton of people have sent thousands of chats back and forth already in the last 3 weeks since we've had it released. It's called Alma is what we named it, but it's inside Dealmachine.
That is absolutely amazing. That is powerful. I can see people right now considering firing their VAs, man. Right? And so that's a really, really powerful tool. Now, how did you come up with that? Or how did your team come up with that? What was the driving factor behind Alma?
Yeah, I know that a lot of beginners are using Dealmachine and they often have a lot of questions. We get a lot of questions via our support chat. And so whenever OpenAI earlier this year came out with ChatGPT, we realized we could implement that in Dealmachine and give it access to the real estate data. So it was finally an answer to that main pain point that beginners have, is they get into analysis paralysis and they are not sure what to do, so they don't take any action. But the assistant is helping people get past that and actually, add properties, send mail, and have more comfort when they're talking with the property owner.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. Talk about innovative. Like that's going to change the game even more. Like, I thought Deal Machine is just, I'm lost for words, man. I'm lost for words. Listen, if you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, and you heard everything that David just shared with us, there's no doubt about it that Deal Machine is a tool that you want to have inside your investor toolbox. I utilize Deal Machine to this day, right? Like I said, Deal Machine has made us like a lot of money, right? Because the deals that we bought through what we've done with Deal Machine, it's an incredible return, incredible ROI. If you are interested in getting Deal Machine, maybe you don't have Deal Machine already, and you're interested in getting Deal Machine, you can access Deal Machine by going to drive4deals.com, deals.com, and you can access Deal Machine right there and also get some bonus credits as well when you sign up. Now, if you are listening to Sound My Voice and you are already using Deal Machine, and if for whatever reason you stop using Deal Machine, I hope that you start using it again because it could change your business. All right. Now, David, you're also doing something really awesome that I love a lot, man, that I'm very, very supportive of. You're giving tips and insight on real estate investing, right? And you're doing it through your podcast and you're doing it through your social media. So how can people get in contact with you or get connected with you on social media? And what's the name of your podcast so they can go listen there as well?
Yeah, so we actually took one of our top, I know you're a very successful customer. We took one of our other top successful Deal Machine users. His name's Ryan Haywood. And he did this wholesaling challenge in 2019 where it was like a 30-day challenge. And on the 14th day, he got his first wholesale deal, driving for dollars, made $8,500. And he quit his job selling telecommunications where they were just reducing his pay structure because he was making too much. So he took this challenge. He made $8,500 and never looked back. He did like 73 deals in his first year. And so now 4 years later, I actually asked him if he'd co-host a podcast with me so that we can help others get their first deal and figure out how the heck he did it in 14 days when it took me about 4 or 5 months. It does take some time. So we just interviewed you, which was an excellent episode. It's coming out in a couple of weeks. It's called the Dealmachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. And it's all focused on how people get their first wholesale deal. And again, that co-host is had a lot of success. And also we've got, Luke's episode coming out. So I'm excited about that. And on Instagram, I'm DLeco. That's the place where I'm most active. And shoot me a DM if you actually listen to this episode.
Awesome. David, listen, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today, interviewing you here today. There's been so much nuggets that have just been dropped today. I feel like there's somebody's life that's about to change, David. I really do believe that. There's somebody listening to this right now who can see their business in a different way and can see the success on the other end and also can see what they need to do right now. All right. So listen, this has been absolutely amazing interview. I cannot wait again for the next time that we bring you back on the show. But I know that you've got to go and you've got a lot to do. And so we're going to let you go. And until next time, I'm Luke Madeus. This is David Leco. Au revoir.
Thank you so much, man.